edition has been brought to you by Don't face the law by yourself. Call Lawyers ASAP. With over 30 years of experience advocating for clients, get the most favorable outcome for your case. Call 1-888-524-6018. 1-888-524-6018. Welcome to this edition of ONME Sunday Mornings. My name is Julia Dudley Najib, and we're so glad that you joined us for a special report that we will be doing in regards to Michael Brown, the shooting that took place in Ferguson, Missouri. In fact, we're going to be having a whole panel to talk about those items very shortly. And just letting you know, each week we usually have from business to entertainment, different issues, health and beauty, and we've kind of laid those things to the side so that we can have our special report. Now, some of the things that we will be discussing, however, that part two of Mel Sanders, the political, talking about local politics, how to be involved, why it's important to be involved, and giving us more insight to educational boards. We also talk with Tate Hill, Fresno Metro Black Chamber of Commerce, President and CEO, because the upcoming week is Black Buying Week, where they are attempting to buy from Black businesses for 1 week. And so we do have an excerpt where we talk to him. And if you want to submit your stories to AMPTV or ONME Sunday Mornings, simply send us an email, media@AMPTVNow. That's media@AMPTVNow.com. Trailblazer, if you have a Valley Trailblazer that you would like to be recognized, please send that via our website, amptvnow.com, and that's where you can find out more information on how to submit your Valley Trailblazer. First, we'll briefly start with some local news, and this local news is brought to you by Chef Paul. And we'd like to thank Chef Paul. He's well known in this community. Delicious cuisine. You'll have to stop by at Chef Paul's. So some of our local items deal with California, and this comes straight from the California Black Chamber of Commerce, who cites that 3% of the contract dollars in regards to high-speed rail has been awarded to African Americans. 3% may seem like a lot, but when you're talking billions of dollars, it's only a couple million, 38 million out of $1.3 billion. And that's a challenge when you're looking at a handful of African American contracts. And we're going to be talking more about that, having a big debate just on having a better understanding of the California high-speed rail. The reason why this was an issue is because the Fresno Metro Black Chamber of Commerce and the California Black Chamber of Commerce asked to have more representation from African American, from the minority sectors, and they were supposed to do that according to the federal law, and they did not abide by those laws. And this has been also supported by the Kern County Black Contractors Association and some of these other organizations, the San Joaquin Valley Minority Contractors Association, who was supporting the efforts of reevaluating those contracts. And this is out of 3,000 contractors across the state, thousands of professional service firms, and the Rail Authority contractors only selected 5 African Americans. So that's a problem. And who the organization where they selected from, where people belong to, were not even the ones pushing for the high-speed rail in the first place. So that is something we're going to be finding out more about, but that's just to keep it in your notes, keep it in your FYI, something that we're going to have to tackle as a community. That is a big deal. Other California news involves Ezell Ford, who was shot by the Los Angeles police earlier this month, and he was only 25 years old. And there were protesters that were discussing some of the problems that they were having with the police, and this has been a continual clash in Los Angeles, and we'll keep abreast of what's going to be happening. We know that Los Angeles Police Department has had a history of problems and issues. And other issues in national news that we'd like to bring up is with the military. The military has finally reversed their decisions on black hairstyles. But according to this news, they finally got, it must have been a woman or somebody that they know that told them, hey, you're going to have to reverse that decision on, as far as black women not being aware of their hairstyle a certain way. That was already a problem to begin with. Could have told you that was going to be a losing argument. But a military is now allowing more popular black hairstyles. So now the black twist in the hair, the braids, it's ironic that that had to be an issue, but it was an issue. And so the Army has reversed their decision, and the Defense Secretary Chuck Hagel made an official letter to the Congressional Black Caucus, who's the one that was pushing this issue, saying that you guys need to reverse that, and that it's discriminatory to tell people that they can only wear their hairstyle, especially if you're African American, a certain way. So that has been now reversed, and the Army, Air Force, and Navy will now allow service members to wear their hair in the two-stranded twist, which was not allowed before. That's pretty interesting news, isn't it? And so after the break, we're going to be talking to our special panelists. We're also going to be dealing with Mel Sanders Part 2 on politics, and also Tate Hill. We'll first start with the political news that we had, the Part 2, and then we'll follow up with Tate Hill and then a special report. You're watching ONME Sunday Mornings. We'll be right back after the short break.
Can you please give me some insight on the pitfalls of not having insurance?
You know, it comes from the lack of education and not really fully understanding the benefits of having life insurance and what it's designed for. And it is to protect your family and safeguard your assets. And also, do you want to see your loved ones with a hardship? Or you can ask yourself a question: would you get in the car and not put your seatbelt on, or not put your kid's seatbelt on, and not have any insurance or protection?
I'm looking for the new adventure. When Jesus comes again, you know that he's coming back. He'll take us out of this world, rise at his command. Get up, wait for us in eternity. The mansions in his house, on heaven's streets, and in his light, we will walk about, singing glory. Hallelujah, I'm in love with the Lord.
And we are back. You are watching ONME Sunday Mornings. My name is Julia Deli Najib, and I am here with guest host Mel Sanders. And we've been having an in-depth discussion about the inner workings of how boards are supposed to work. Sounds ideal to be able to have a training course and whatnot, but what's the reality of that? We know it's non-existent or it's not utilized. So we know those things are in place. It's good for the public to know. But what should they know about, especially the educational boards, these elections that are coming up?
Okay, you have every other year there's an election at a school district in the state here. And in our particular area, we have some school district seats that are up, and we have several people who are trying to either unseat someone or to gain an open seat. Mm-hmm. And so it's important, even if you don't have children, to pay attention and to be a part of evaluating who's going to be sitting in those seats.
Now, how do they evaluate that?
Well, one of the things they're going to have to do is they're going to have to listen to hear, because we're going to be going some interviews with some folks and talking to them and then asking some of those questions that a lot of folks won't ask about the process of, you know, what their ability to serve. Are they willing to do certain things? There's going to be a couple of issues on the Fresno Unified Board that have to do with some things that most of the time is not talked about during the campaign. And one of them is, should Fresno Unified be split up? There's been some conversation.
We've had that conversation before.
Yes. And I think that's going to be something that's going to be magnified throughout the course of this election season. And we need to know, what are the advantages, what are the disadvantages of having a district divided. Mm-hmm. Right now, currently, Fresno Unified is the 4th largest district in the state. Mm-hmm. And if you look at the test scores, they're nothing to be proud of. No, not at all. So I think there's got to be some real serious consideration as to, you know, whether or not that's something that the community needs to move forward on through their representatives to initiate it, because ultimately it has to come to the voters to sanction it if that should happen. But the discussion should start at the board level and talk about whether or not it's a good idea. And the other piece is, we have in Trustee Area 1, 4 people that are trying to be the representative for that area, and this is going to be a fun race for me to watch, because it's one of the things that happened that's been very controversial is the new middle school in
Yes,
Southwest Fresno.
that's definitely been a controversy. It's not over yet.
No, and I think it's it's going to raise a lot of eyebrows when it comes to whether or not the incumbent supports the fact that
That could be the death of him, that particular issue, meaning the election process.
Yes. I think I've heard a press conference. I heard some words about a press.
Two different press conferences.
Yes, about the fact that they were talking of they hired the best person for the job, but that may be true. But I don't know if that's really the
community sentiment is.
Yes, I mean, this is a community that has been promised things years and years, and finally they get a new middle school. And I remember discussion over the past couple years about the middle school and about the involvement of community in every aspect of it, including the hiring of personnel. And then for them to say we're not. First of all, I don't know if this is true or not, but this is something that needs to be researched. I haven't heard of a middle school having two principals. Now I don't know if is that normal. You were in the district.
No, it's not normal.
And it tells me, and then it's strange that they would have that. They would, it seems like you pit one against the other. They have an African American female and a Hispanic male, both co-principals. It just seems
seems unusual.
Yeah,
maybe a vice principal,
It could be potentially contentious because now you're putting this group against this other group. If there's going to be a clash, you got, who's going to side up with whom, that kind of thing. Number two, you have the ability to go out and hire someone, if it's not in this district or in this city, to bring them in and teach the studies that you hired this one individual to teach. You got one individual teaching, I believe, two subjects, Latino studies and African American studies. In the year where the governor has released millions of dollars to districts where their budgets for this year, as opposed to in past years, is just flourishing with dollars, to go out and recruit somebody to teach this class that the community would be satisfied with. In past years, you could cry, well, we don't have the money. We had to work within our budget.
But now they can't say that, and you're right, because the governor has released a lot of money.
A lot of money.
And that's what even with that issue, and that's the sad part, and that's what we mean by really understanding politics, because the person that represents that area should maybe be explaining that to the community or to the Fresno Unified Board itself, so they understand why the community has some issues, has some concern.
Yeah, I would think. I mean, but, to me, especially in an election year, it's kind of like, throwing somebody under the bus. I mean,
Well, which bus do you want to be thrown under is the question.
Well, if I'm the superintendent and I've had a very loyal support from the board representative, I'm not going to push him out there to have him be chewed on or chopped up by the community when I know I may need his vote back in the boardroom. And when you do what you did, knowing the resources you had available, and you didn't do it, maybe somebody's pushing somebody, throwing them under the bus, if you will.
It could be done on purpose. Who knows? That's part of politics. Politics gets dirty.
But it should never be done by a superintendent.
That's true.
Because the superintendent has to be able to count to 4. And if he can't count to 4, he's looking for a new job. In the case of a 7-member board. Or if it's a 5-member board, you need 3. So, that to me is not, it's very dangerous. And most superintendents wouldn't do that in a contentious situation where this is such a heightened subject. And to have, to have an election year where one of your strong supporters on the board have to be in a real dogfight to be retained as a board member. Oh man, I don't know. That's gonna be tough.
As long as me and you are not in that seat,
we can talk about it.
We can talk about it.
Turn the light on and let other folks see what you're looking at. But see, when you understand the budgets, it makes a lot of difference. When board members understand how to read and understand budgets, what the money can be used for, what it can't be used for, it makes it a lot difficult for an administration to come to you and give you a plan and tell you that, well, they may not even tell you, but lead you to believe that this is the only thing you can do with this money. And you can't go another way, and we can't allow for community to be a part of it.
That's the ignorance of the board members, not knowing the budget and then having to listen to the person that they employed as a superintendent, or whoever that might be. That's a challenge.
Which is the reason why the lifespan of a board, a superintendent in most districts in the country is 4.5 years. Because people wake up and they say, oh, wait a minute, didn't he tell us this 2 years ago? So they wait and they say, well, let's see, the next coming election, we're going to, Jimmy, would you run for the seat? I need you and Al to run. We're going to fire that superintendent. And so before that happens, usually the superintendent finds another job someplace else, and they have a network.
Which has happened.
Yeah, they do it all the time. They have a network, so they take care of one another. And when you look at 50% of the state budget being in education, they're always going to find a safety net. So, you know.
I'm looking forward to more of these discussions with you, and that's what I mean by we got to have you, well, now starting at least beyond once a month to tell us what's going on with politics and be able to have some of the politicians dare you come on the show. Of course, we want you on the show.
Yeah, they're going to come.
We definitely want to be able to hear your opinions and views.
This is where you talk to the African-American community, so they have to come to this table and they have that conversation. And the ones that I know, they will do that. They want to share with you what their beliefs are, the convictions are. And we already know we're not going to agree on everything, but at least we get a chance to ask them what we need to ask them to make an intelligent decision about whether or not we're going to support them or not.
Fair enough. Our ONME expert is featuring Marshawn Govan of MKG Insurance Agency.
Welcome back to ONME Expert. I'm here with Marshawn Govan. Can you please give me some insight on the pitfalls of not having insurance in the African American community?
You know, it comes from the lack of education and not really fully understanding the benefits of having life insurance and what it's designed for. And it is to protect your family and safeguard your assets. And also, do you want to see your loved ones with a hardship? Or you can ask yourself a question: would you get in the car and not put your seatbelt on, or not put your kid's seatbelt on, and not have any insurance or protection?
Why should our audience or anybody go to you in particular to buy life or health insurance?
Well, particularly you want to have somebody that you can relate to, somebody that can understand your needs, understand your background. If you come from a struggle, I come from a struggle. I can understand that you don't have a lot of money to invest into a policy. I can work with whatever your budget is. We can come up with something and to make something that's affordable and economical for you. And as well as, I'm a tax advisor before I was an insurance agent. So I'm gonna put your needs first.
So when I pay my premium, do I pay it directly to you?
Oh, no. You pay your premium to the insurance companies, whether it's through direct debit to your bank account or you mail in a monthly check to the insurance company, and they'll have a self-enclosed envelope for you to pay your premium.
Thank you for joining us with ONME Sunday Morning with our expert, Marshawn Govan. And the next topic we're going to go into is how do we use life insurance, and do you really need life insurance after you die?
Find out more how you can be an ONME expert at our website. Go to onmebiz.amptv now. That's onmebiz.amptv now and become an ONME expert today. Welcome back to ONME Sunday Mornings. My name is Julia Dudley Najib, and we told you about our business segment, so we're back here with the President and CEO of the Fresno Metro Black Chamber of Commerce, Tate Hill. Hi, Tate, how are you?
I'm doing pretty good.
So you were telling me about August. That's supposed to be Black Business Month or Black Buying Business Month. Explain that to us, and we'll go a little deeper from there.
Yes, some years ago, John Templeton and some others in the Bay Area put together this concept around National Black Business Month to celebrate Black businesses, to encourage investment in the utilization of Black businesses. So August is National Black Business Month, and we kicked it off with our First Fridays event at Kaki's in downtown Fresno, Black-owned restaurant and establishment. And we really wanted to encourage, of course, as the Black Chamber of Commerce, we want to encourage the community to buy from local African-American owned businesses.
What would you say some of those challenges are, buying from our local Black businesses or buying from Black businesses in general?
Definitely. A lot of times people just don't know where they are. Right, so we know that there is approximately 2,300 African-American-owned businesses in the Fresno, Clovis, and Madera area, but a lot of times people don't know where they are. You can't look us up by last name, and so one of the things that we're wanting to do during this month, and really all throughout the year for us, is to help locate those businesses, make sure people know about them, not only in the African-American community, but our general consumer base.
I know when we spoke, you talked about a lady who did an experiment for a whole entire year. And if you can talk about that and maybe talk about her challenges and if that's something that we can actually implement in our community.
Definitely. About 3 years ago, I had an opportunity to meet Maggie Anderson from out of Chicago. And she and her husband, and really her whole family, really made a commitment to buy from African-American owned businesses. And she did really an experiment. Initially started as an experiment for a whole year. They dedicated themselves to buy strictly from African-American owned businesses. And it was a challenge. Even her being in Chicago, which has a significant, black population, it's a major metropolitan area, they struggled. A lot of times they would have to eat at the local gas station that was owned by an African-American, or they had limited choices.
Eat at a gas station. Why would you say they would have to eat at a gas station?
Well, or they might be going out to go try to get groceries, and the closest black grocery store was 25 miles away. Oh. And so they sometimes had limited choices as far as what was available to them. But throughout the year, what she learned was that there were a number of types of businesses that were available, and really, again, the importance of even within the African American community about the importance of buying from our own businesses. We consume, and it's regularly touted that African American buying power, what we consume in total is about $1 trillion every year. That will make us one of the top 10 countries if we were a country. But when you look at our impact on African American businesses, our African American businesses are doing a little more than $200 billion. So 80% of our funds are what we spend is going to non-African American owned businesses. And what Maggie found in her experiment, if just middle income families that were making more than $70,000 a year, if they would increase their spending by 10% or to 10%, that would create an additional 1 million jobs within the African American community. So huge impact opportunity.
Right. How could we do that here in Fresno? We don't own any grocery stores per se.
Definitely. So you know what? I'm going to actually.
I should have said Central Valley, right?
Yeah. And so I'm actually going to take that challenge. With this being National Black Business Month, I've made a commitment to try out for a whole full week, the last week of August 25th through the 31st, to really see if I can just buy all black. Food, entertainment, gas, any of those necessities. Now, I'm not going to buy a new house or something like that, so for all the real estate agents, they'll just have to wait. But those
the basic necessities that we would need day to day.
Yeah, definitely to do that. And I'm really encouraging our members and really the community to join me. And I think one of two things will come out of that. One, we'll find out there are a number of black-owned businesses that you can purchase from that you may not know of. And then what we might find is that there are some areas that we don't have black businesses in, and hopefully that will spark people's interest. Here in this area, we talked about nationally, we spend $1 trillion. In the Fresno metropolitan area, we spend approximately, in the Fresno, Clovis, Madera area, about $725 million every year.
That's a lot.
Right.
But it's not going to the black businesses.
Not necessarily all going to our black businesses. Okay. Similarly, we're doing just a little more than $200 million, about $213 million to our local black businesses, and many of those are with large companies. So they're not even getting those dollars from regular consumers or African American consumers. So there's a lot of opportunity for us to really support our local African American owned businesses. Supporting local black businesses is a local buy concept. You know, they're going to spend their dollars local, they're going to hire local people, they're going to support our local organizations and groups, they pay for scholarships, all those things that we would like for the business community to do. When we make that investment in our own local black businesses, that creates dividends within our community.
And we see that in other ethnicities, other communities that do really well supporting their ethnic group. Not to say that it's just not as, well, it's just as important to support even the Central Valley as a whole. But what would be the biggest difference, you'd say, amongst other communities that do really well in their niche communities versus ours? Well,
you know, I think part of the challenge is, you know, Nielsen did a study, Nielsen group, they did a study, and some other organization does studies that African American community is very brand loyal. And so we're very much, if we get connected to a brand, we stick with it.
And we tell other people.
We tell other people, right? And because companies recognize that, sometimes they do certain type of advertising. So a McDonald's, a Coca-Cola, General Motors, they do a lot of advertising to African Americans because they know we are brand loyal. And so maybe a lot of times our smaller businesses don't have that, well, I know they don't. They don't have that same type of marketing budget. They don't have multi-billion-dollar budgets to do that same level of advertising. But I think what we can do locally is utilize the resources, utilize social media, make sure that we're sharing those experiences that we have online with, you know, your Yelps and other things that help people to see good experiences with African American.
You said it, Yelp. I've seen some bad reviews on Yelp, and I had to let a few of the black restaurants know, and they didn't even know.
Yeah. So
how do you counteract that? That's the internet. That's social media.
You do, and as a business, you have to monitor your social personality, your social brand, and make sure that you're responding to some of those, or if it's on your Facebook page or so forth, and take ownership of that. Create opportunities for your customers that are having good experience, encourage them or incentivize for them to put a post on Yelp. So, you know, offer, you know, if they put a good post on there, they had a good experience, they get a 10% discount on their next visit. And so that incentivizes them to, you know, share some of those experiences, and just for people to know that your business is out there. A lot of times I'm still discovering black-owned businesses. I found a whole group of them just a couple of weeks ago that I didn't know were in existence. And so it is important to be able to, you know, promote and to share those businesses. And what we hope, you know, your viewers will do and help us and find those businesses, share that information on social media so we can know who they are and to be able to support them and encourage others to support them.
I'm so interested in hearing the outcome of this, and hopefully other people will at least attempt to do this challenge. I know that's something we attempt to do in our household, so I'm going to try it that week, that last week of August, we're saying.
Yes.
All of us should try that.
August 25th through the 31st. And what we'll be doing all this next week is, you know, posting information on our social media platforms, through our e-news letters, to let folks, you know, here are some of the list of businesses, consumer businesses that we know about. Please share others. They don't have to be a member of the chamber. We would like for them to be black-owned businesses, of course, but to let us know of those black-owned businesses that we can support.
Would that be from also Madera, Tulare area?
Yeah,
okay.
So everything in between. So Madera, Fresno County, Tulare, Kings County, that's our focus. I don't think I'll be going down to Bakersfield.
Okay.
But you know,
it's good
just
to
to
know
let
where
them
they
know those
exist.
kind of opportunities, because you never know. You know, someone needs to. They're traveling, and they have to make a stop in Madera, or they have to make a stop in Tulare.
They should make an app for that. Maybe the chamber will do that.
Yeah, maybe.
Like you have nothing else to do.
Definitely.
Tate, we'd like to thank you for your time today. We know you're very busy, and we hope to also talk to you about the Urban Leadership Conference that'll be coming up. So that'll be our next discussion, if it will be. And that is our business segment with Tate Hill, who is the CEO and president of the Fresno Metro Black Chamber of Commerce. You are watching ONME Sunday Mornings. We'll be right back after this short break.
Can you please give me some insight on the pitfalls of not having insurance?
You know, it comes from the lack of education and not really fully understanding the benefits of having life insurance and what it's designed for. And it is to protect your family and safeguard your assets. And also, do you want to see your loved ones with a hardship? Or you can ask yourself a question: would you get in the car and not put your seatbelt on, or not put your kid's seatbelt on, and not have any insurance or protection?
MPTV Community Calendar brought to you by Salam Seafoods, Yoga Etc., and Watts Family Grill.
African-American sculptor and multimedia artist Mildred Howard will be featured at the Fresno Museum's Council of 100 Distinguished Women Artists for 2014 from September 26th to January 4th, 2015. For more information, go to fresnoartmuseum.org. The African American Museum will have a Founders Day celebration and membership drive Saturday, September 20th at 5 p.m. Admission is free. Come to 1857 Fulton Street in Fresno, California to join in the celebration. Save the date, Saturday, September 27th from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. Jack and Jill of America Incorporated Fresno chapter will have waffles, wings, and blingy things at the African American Museum, located on 1857 Fulton Street in Fresno, California. Vendor booths, tickets are available. Call or text for more information, 559-803-5182.
To submit your event to the AMPTV Community Calendar for consideration, sign up as a member at ebtradio.org. It's free, and post your event on the online calendar ebtradio.org.
AMPTV is proud to bring you a combined effort of all the black media sources in the Valley on CBS 47, Sundays at 6 a.m., right before the CBS 47 news. Let us be your source for what's happening in the black community. Sundays at 6 a.m., right before the CBS 47 news. Welcome back to ONME Sunday Mornings. My name is Julia Dudley Najib, and as you can see, we are ready for our special report. Our panelists are here. I'd like to welcome them all. First of all, thank you for coming to ONME Sunday Mornings. And we have Katina Davis, who was a resident of St. Louis, Missouri. You'll be able to give us some insight, of course, on... Thank you, thank you. Pamela, you are going to be telling us more insights on the civil rights, right? Case of this, and Pamela Young King is the president of the NAACP. And of course we had Mel Sanders, who we spoke with before. He's the political chair of the Fresno NAACP. Welcome back, Mel.
Good to be here.
We have a lot of issues, so we should get right into it. And I guess we want to talk about the NAACP and where their stance is, and what could the NAACP do at this point as far as stepping in? Do they step in?
Of course, anytime it appears that a citizen's civil rights are violated, especially African American males, the Civil Rights launches an investigation to determine if any civil rights violations have occurred and what they should do thereafter in terms of legal matters connected to the case.
So we want to come back to that, but I guess we want to first give people some background. Katina, tell us about Ferguson, Missouri. How far is that from St. Louis?
Ferguson, Missouri is a county, a suburb of St. Louis. It is 20-30 minutes from the downtown city of St. Louis. It's not really, it's been annexed from the St. Louis metropolitan area, and so they have their own separate government. Each municipality within the North County or St. Louis County, each town has its own police department, and they in turn have their own governing that they, so they have their own separate police departments, and they have their own. So if they need the county, St. Louis County, to assist, the Clayton, the downtown, the Clayton area is there for them to use. But each town has its own police department, so it's separated. It's not one whole entity like the city of St. Louis.
I see.
It is.
What is the sentiment what are people feeling back home?
Well, first of all, myself, we feel a certain, we feel sad for what has happened to Mike Brown. We feel sad for his family. But they also feel anger and they feel fed up because there is a long history of racial divide and tension. It's not something that's commonly known. This situation and incident has brought it to light, but it's not a new thing. It's just something that's been boiling over for a very long time. And this happened to be the last straw.
And when you say the last straw, does this happen with the average African-American male, or just if you're just African-American, or is it both? Is it also with the police force that's there, that their sentiments are feeling this way?
Well, it's mostly to African-Americans.
Mm-hmm. In general?
In general, but the African-American male is always targeted or profiled by the police. You know, they tend to have, they get pulled, it happens all over the country. It's not just, Missouri or North County or Ferguson. It happens everywhere. It happens a lot to the citizens in Ferguson. And I think a lot of it is witnessing the death of someone in your home, the place where you live, and then for 5 hours watching this young man who had graduated from high school, who was about to go to college, to see his mother grieve and for him to be treated in such an undignified manner. It was enough is enough.
Well, you're a mother, right?
Right.
And so what would you instruct your son, your daughter, if it doesn't matter where they are, actually, like what you said, because we're going to talk about cases here in Fresno.
I do have an 18-year-old son, and so I tell him, and I have a 13-year-old son, so I tell them both to follow the letter of the law. If the police stop you, you comply. Don't resist. Don't give them a lot of lip. Don't make any aggressive and sudden moves, and just be as mild-mannered and non-aggressive as possible, because they already stop you with anger. They're already angry at you before they even know what your situation is. They're looking for a reason, and I don't want them to give them a reason.
Understood. That's understood. Mel, in looking at the politics of this situation, you have the National Guard that's involved, you also have the police department, and you also have the state police. What are some of the challenges you see just in dealing with those aspects, especially with the community that's already not at rest?
Well, the problem I see, and as I watched today over the newscast, is there are too many people that are involved. Every agency has its own boss, if you will, and there's nobody coordinating the efforts of all of the agencies to be effective. So I think that is a major problem. And then the other problem that I see is the fact that those folks who make up 65% of the population who happen to be African American are not controlling their own destiny by having their own elected people serving, so that many of the issues that we're looking at right now in terms of the actions of the police and those kinds of things, I would think you would have a different outcome if you had a different makeup of officers and leadership.
And this also goes back to when you're saying knowing your local politics. I know we've talked about that many times in previous segments.
You have to do that, yeah, that's very important. All politics is local, and you have to master your local community in order to be effective, especially when you have the majority. And I know there's been some challenges of folks not being part of the process for so long and really not understanding all of that. But, in this day and time, agencies or groups like the NAACP and the Urban League and other groups have a responsibility to put their shoulder to the wheel and help those folks get up to speed so that they can then be in charge of their own destiny.
Now, some people are saying, and this can be I'm directing this to the president of the NAACP, are saying this looks like the 60s all over again. Meaning in the streets, you have the tear gas, and some people feel it's not quite warranted. What's your opinion on that?
Well, I saw some of the demonstrations on TV and the police out in their riot gear, and it did echo a little bit of the 60s. But as Mel said, when we are the majority of the population, we should be in decision-making positions. And why aren't we? Why aren't we where we can make decisions about what goes on in our community when we have the majority of the population there? What's keeping us? Is it what has kept us from being there forever because of the color of our skin? Is that what's keeping us? Mm-hmm. And so we as African Americans need to step up and step out and take ownership of what is ours, our community. We need to take ownership of it, make decisions about what goes on in our community.
And when we come back after the break, I want to talk about the comments that were made on Bill Mander's show. I think that's important. And also our youth, some of the issues that have happened to us personally. I know I have a personal story. We all have personal stories. And when we say color is not a part of today's issue, I find some fallacy in that. You are watching ONME Sunday Mornings. We'll be right back right after the short break. This is our special report on Michael Brown, the issue in Ferguson, Missouri. AMP-TV is proud to bring you a combined effort of all the black media sources in the Valley. Stay up or set your DVR for AMP-TV programming on KC24 from 1 a.m. to 2:30 a.m. Let us be your source for what's happening in the black community. Saturday at 1 a.m. on KC24.
AMP-TV can now be watched on TV anytime through our Roku channel or on your computer online at amptvnow.com. Better yet, go mobile, live.amptvnow.com.
Welcome back to ONME Sunday Mornings. My name is Julia Dudley Najib, and we are here with our panelists to talk about the special report that we've been doing for this show, and we'll also be doing a part 2, and we will have other guests as well. And we're talking about the Michael Brown shooting that happened in Ferguson, Missouri, and this has been a big challenge. We have Katina Davis, who's from St. Louis, Missouri, and we also have Pamela Young-King, who is the Fresno NAACP president. And we have Mel Sanders, who's the political chair of the Fresno NAACP. I want to talk about the other day, I know that the Bill Mander show, Mel, you were on that show.
Yeah, I thought I subbed for our president who couldn't make it in, and she asked me if I would go in and sit in on her behalf.
In doing so, I noticed some of the comments that I replayed back and wanted to listen, where people said they saw no color, that there's no issue with color. And the irony is, I know that maybe three out of the 4 of us here on this panelist have had some type of issue or concern with color in regards to the police.
Just 3 out of 4?
Okay, is it possible? I don't know. I have to ask Katina. I'm going to ask her personal opinion. It's got to be, in other words, all of us have had someone in our family that has been affected. Yeah. Okay, so that's 100% of the panel. Yeah. And color's not involved, huh?
Well, that was the statement made by the host the other evening when I was there, that he doesn't see color. I mean, you know, the point he was trying to make is that he was a fair guy. But how can you be fair and not see the color of the person you're addressing, you're meeting with? That has to be included in your psyche, because that's in your mind, even though you may not say it. So to say that you don't see color usually is a what kind of word am I looking for? To say that you're not, you know, you're really not as open as you may think you are. Folks who usually say that.
Oh, when they say that, I have black friends, because I did hear a lot of those comments on the air. That a couple of people said that. I have black friends
those
too.
Those are the kind of the statements that are made that, you know, when you flip it, yeah, they're not at your house for dinner.
That's right. And I know, what about, maybe you guys didn't hear the comment that was said when the one young man called in and said, I have a black friend, he's as light as can be, and what he sees that, and I'm kind of generalizing here, saying that black people are generally getting lighter, and they look like they're getting whiter. And I was wondering, what did that statement have to do with anything, and just wanting some feedback on that.
I feel like people are afraid to say that there is a color issue, because to say that there's a color issue means that there's still a problem with race relations. And the only way to solve a problem is to acknowledge that you have one. It's okay that you see people that are different and are different colors, but it's a mistake to pretend that it doesn't exist. It's okay that we're different. It's okay that you don't understand my culture. It's okay if you want to let us take care of our own problems, because it's probably better that way. But it's a problem when you think that you are so evolved, and because we have a black president, you want to say that there is not a color issue. But as long as the world is round, people have issues with one another, and that's the truth. And accept and acknowledge the truth, and then maybe we can make progress.
Pamela, have you ever had anybody in your family, due to color, that was somehow, you know, by the police, they were affected in one way or another?
Most certainly, most certainly. My very own brother many years ago was stopped by the police, and today I still don't know why we were stopped. I was the driver, he was the passenger. They talked to us like we were criminals. They never asked me, the driver, for my driver's license, my name. They just took my brother out of the car and said a whole bunch of foul language.
To your brother, this is all happening. Yeah. What were you doing as this was all happening?
I was told to sit in the car, and I sat in the car right in West Fresno, and I don't know what it was all about. They let him go. They let us go, and I still don't know what it was about. But I thought they were very disrespectful because they used language toward us that was unwarranted. And had I...
Were you scared? Did you have any fear at the time?
Well, I was scared for my brother.
Or angry?
I was scared for my brother, but that anger has led me to want to be a part of the NAACP because of incidents like that. And they often say, is the NAACP still relevant? Most definitely. We need it as much today as we needed it back when it came to be and when it was active in the 60s. We're kind of going backwards. Our people are going backwards. They're being profiled again and again and again, especially our African American boys. Our kids are not safe. Our children are not safe. Our boys are not safe. And even our girls are not safe. Because you remember the young lady that was killed some time ago going to the door because her car had broken down? And because she was profiled. That's why she was shot. Because an African American came to my front door, they immediately must have some criminal intent. And that's not good. That's not good, a good practice, but that is how it is in our country.
Mel, you're a black man, obviously.
No, you're kidding.
Well, according to on the radio show, I guess you weren't. You're just a man.
Yeah,
you weren't a black man.
See me as black.
But we see you. I see you as a black man.
Yeah.
Would you say you've had any incidents, you yourself personally?
I can't think of any African American male who hadn't had some sort of encounter with law enforcement. My latest encounter was really a kind of a few months ago. There was a situation in Southwest Fresno where there was some shooting going on, and it had intensified. And so the police were dispersed to try to quell that situation, and they were just all through the neighborhoods. But one evening, I noticed that I saw an officer get behind me at a couple blocks from my home, and I took the route through my neighborhood, pulled, and I saw the car following me, pulled in front of my driveway and on the curb there, and turned my engine off and started to get out of the car. And they turned the mic on and the lights and stay in your car. And I sat there and I made sure I did all the right things. I rolled the window down and put my left hand out the window and put my right hand on the steering wheel. And so
and that's what you're supposed to do?
Exactly. That's what you do if you don't want to wind up being a statistic, because they claim all kind of things. So when he approached the car, I asked him, what was the problem, and he asked for my license, registration, and insurance. And he looked at me, and when he looked at me, who he thought he was following wasn't what he was looking for. And I say that because when he looked at me and he saw this gray chin, he knew I wasn't the guy he was looking for.
So were you mistaken?
Young people.
Were you mistaken identity? Did he tell you that?
Well, no, of course not, because he had no reason to stop you. The reason he said he stopped me was my light was out over my license plate. And so when he did go and run my name and all of that and came back to the car, he gave me my license and said, have a nice day, that we just want to let you know you need to fix your light. So I get out and I go back start heading to the back of my car to check it. And he says, no, that's okay, you're all right, just.
So there were probably no light issues.
No, it wasn't, of course not. But that's the one that they use as to come on. So if they need to stop you, most people's light is dim, so they claim it's out.
So this is not surprising. I know myself having personal issues with my son, mistaken identity, and he was only 12 years old, and the cops came to our house when I wasn't there, and I was at work, and my son was petrified. He was just in fear. And ever since then, he always had a problem with the law enforcement. My husband was walking the street, and he wasn't jaywalking. He was walking across the street. This was in Clovis. Light had turned red in the crosswalk, and he got a ticket for that. And so I'm looking at all these incidents, and then I myself was pulled over. Even though I was raised in San Jose, we were pulled over many times, myself and my girlfriend, and we're African-American females. Katina, what's your response to that?
Well, they don't discriminate. If they see you when you're black, then they'll stop you. I used to live in a suburb in St. Louis, Maryland Heights. I lived in. I had a house there. I would go out driving at night because sometimes I couldn't sleep.
Sure.
My car was registered to my house, so I would drive down this particular road. I was following the speed limit. I was doing everything I was supposed to, except for I was a black woman in a predominantly white neighborhood, and the police officer was following me, and he was running my plates. I know he was running my plates because he couldn't stop me. And once he ran the plates and saw that the car was registered to the house that was probably 2 blocks away, he drove off. But every week when I would go and do my same routine, if it wasn't that cop, it was a different officer following me, running my plates. You know, they don't care if you are not the right shade of brown or the right shade, period, in a mostly white neighborhood. You know, they believe you don't belong there. And so it could happen to anybody.
And it's still happening, even though we're in 2014. And after the break, we're going to talk about those comments, because I forgot, even my own brother, he was also beat up in front of our household. And we lived in a very fluent neighborhood in Almaden Valley, and he was beat to a pulp. They didn't believe that he lived there. I heard him screaming, and it was me going outside that probably saved his life. And my other brother is upstairs. So this is a common problem, but we're going to have our final comments, and we're going to share some comments that are on the internet. And I'm sure you all may not be shocked. You might be shocked, might not be shocked, and we're supposed to be colorblind, right? This is the society of 2014. So you are watching ONME Sunday Mornings. We'll be right back with our final comments. Join us at the grand opening and ribbon cutting of Cafe Aroma Coffee House, Wednesday, August 27th at 8 a.m. We are located at 550 North Fulton Street in Fresno, California, right before Belmont Avenue. Find out more about our open mic night coming up September 24th or karaoke night coming up September 25th. Or how about our Central Valley Women's Minority Business Mixer coming up October 1st. And find out more about our movie night coming up Thursday, October 2nd. We hope to see you at the grand opening and ribbon cutting of Cafe Aroma Coffee House, Wednesday, August 27th at 8 a.m., located at 550 North Fulton Street, right before Belmont Avenue in Fresno, California. Welcome back to ONME Sunday Mornings. We are here with our panelists doing our wrap-up comments and some of those final words that you might want to say. And before I let you say those final words, I want to read some comments that I got from the internet. And this was in reference to the shooting, another police shooting that was in Los Angeles at the beginning of August. And this young man was 25 years old, of course, a black man. And these are some of the comments in response to that. And I think I already talked about this young man at the beginning of the program. People that are said this: welcome to Obama's change. Every week it's something new, something negative. The American populace is unhappy. Even the minions that voted for this president are becoming restless. I guess all the free Obama phones, food stamps, Section 8 housing, and welfare checks are not enough. Now they want free cigars. How's that hope and change working out for you? Black Messiah, give me a break. Bury the destroyer is more like it. And the last comment that I'll read, 13% of population versus 68%. Do the math. Whites have the numbers, and if they get gonads, should show it. This is what happens when the majority allows itself to live in fear of name-calling by the minority. It is pathetic. You have the numbers, money, and power. So white people better grow up, stop acting like, look at those mean black thugs. They are thugs and remain 13% of the population, and they live in cesspool cities caused by their blind devotion to liberal policies and entitlement. Whites have been too complacent and have allowed this out of white guilt. Enough is enough. The blacks need to clean up the blacks. Race war is one they will not win unless whites feel bad about being called names. Throw it back in the faces of blacks where it belongs. They have caused their failures, and whites owe them nothing. And there were more comments like these online. So I just read those comments to you all, and I was really wanting some feedback, starting with hopefully the NAACP president. Pamela?
Well, the comments that I have read certainly have racial overtones in them. We are not the majority when it comes to getting food stamps and Section 8 housing and welfare checks. We are not the majority, but that is what some folks in our country believe. And then I'd like to say that I have an issue, again, with 68% of the people in Ferguson being African American, but yet they are not over the council, they are not mayor of the city, they are not running anything. So it's important that we look at that issue. Why is that? That if we're the majority, we should be running that city, and we're not. So that says a lot about the people in that city.
And I would say, Mel, that falls on the lines of what you do as a political action chair, right? When you're looking at the politics and the dynamics of the situation, why are they not running anything? Why isn't there representation like you've said before?
Well, as we were sharing the conversation during the break, a lot of folks have not been connected with political action for a number of years. There has not been clear leadership and folks stepping up to say, we need to move our community to the next level. And so that then leads to where we are now in terms of not having representation in key areas that can make a direct impact on the day-to-day lives of citizens who reside in that area. So, but I think too, I want to back up a bit. The reason why we hear comments like that and we read things like that, I believe it's because of the fear factor. I think those of the current majority of population can read the handwriting on the wall. And within a few short years, they're not going to be the majority. So you hear a lot of this fear mongering and things that they know in their hearts are not true. And so
people are talking about getting guns. I was reading over the other comments, and they're talking about in the suburbs, we're so glad we have guns, and if they come, it's almost like they're starting the race war by saying just that comment.
Because they're afraid.
Well, they had guns already.
Yeah, they did. It's not new. But they can read. They recognize that it won't be long before the browning of America is going to change a lot of that. One of the things, the comment I made with the gentleman on the air, I don't know if we were on the air or off, but I talked about, I said on the air, about the children, the browning of our kids, and they don't have the same kinds of, if you notice, stigmas or hang-ups that older adults have. Because when you look at the younger generation, you look at white kids sagging, trying to wear braids, trying to do the music they listen to more African American music than we do. They know more rap. Man, rap, they love this. And so I say that as time moves on, you're going to see a change. And those folks, once they die off, you'll see a change in this country. And the things with battles we're having now, we're not going to have them much longer.
Katina, I know at the break you're talking about how the youth have something to do with it, and you're saying, is there an unruliness? Why are they unruly? How have they gotten to this point?
Well, because they don't want to take the passive approach. They want immediate change. They sort of...
Stay tuned to the next show to hear the conclusion from our innovative panelists who give their final comments concerning Michael Brown, the shooting in Ferguson, Missouri. Coming up next on AMPTV, music show, Urban Inspiration Music Connection. AMPTV is proud to bring you a combined effort of all the Black media sources in the Valley on CBS 47, Sundays at 6 a.m., right before the CBS 47 news. Let us be your source for what's happening in the Black community. Sundays at 6 a.m., right before the CBS 47 news.